All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Northampton Urban Forestry Commission meeting, September 17th, 2025. Good to see you all. Um, so this evening, or this afternoon, I should say, excuse me, we have a guest speaker, which you saw, Steve. I put Steve Nutter, but I think he goes by Stephen Nutter, so you'll have to excuse me, who's the executive director of Green Cambridge. Should be joining us momentarily. And Kent, I thank you for putting him in contact with us. So it'd be great to hear from. Looking forward to it. I do not see any members of the public, and Kent, I can't call on you to make public comment again. Although I lurched for the public comment for Kent's button, but no, I stopped myself. So we could just move right into the minutes. If you had a chance to review them, great. If you didn't, please take this opportunity to do so. Molly's shaking her head; she has not. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
We're doing well. We're in a little we are reviewing the minutes of the past meeting. So it's not a
Great.
moment of silence because you arrived. It's just because we're reviewing the minutes.
I'm glad. I don't need a
Okay.
moment of silence. Not
Okay.
yet.
All right. So just give us a couple of minutes. Thank you.
I'll go off camera and I'll be here.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Where is Ridgeview again?
Ridgeview is at the very top of Route 66. This the last street before Loudville Road
Oh, okay.
on the left.
Okay.
Yeah. It's where we removed 14 ash trees
Oh,
and
that one.
did a
Yeah.
replanting. Yep.
Mm, okay. Okay, done.
Okay. Anyone else need a little time or have
Um, under the fall tree planting discussion, maybe you could correct Stephen Nutter's name on the very last bullet item. You have Steve Nutter.
Hmm, I'm not sure. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Sue is hello, Sue. Someone is asked to come in the meeting. I don't recognize who they are. Bonnie, do you recognize that name? No. I guess I will. Let's press the admit button. See what happens here. Um, so without Sue, we just reviewed the minutes of the meeting.
Okay.
So I don't know if you had a chance to review them. We can wait for you so you can review them.
Nope, I'll abstain.
Okay. All right. So with that information, could I get a motion to accept the minutes as pres or amended? Because Kent recommended we make that one adjustment.
I move they be accepted as amended.
Okay, there is a motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second it.
All right, we have a second. Is there any discussion? No, seeing no discussion. Bonnie, could you do a roll call, please? You got to
Yep,
unmute
sure
yourself.
can.
Okay.
Okay, Rich Parasolitti,
Yes.
Susan Loftus,
Abstain.
Molly Hale,
Yes.
David Lukens,
I did review the minutes, but I wasn't at the meeting, so like,
Okay, Richard Parrish
Yes.
and Kent Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so moving along. We'll keep my tree warden comments short. I did want to make you aware, and I don't know if you've been following the city council meetings as of recent, there was a poll petition from National Grid on Glenwood Avenue. I don't know if you follow that at all. There is a new development that's at 39 Day Avenue, which is multiple, I think there's 4 or 5 small units in there. And they are going to be completely electrified. So they required a movement of a new utility pole on Glenwood Avenue, which would have resulted in a conflict with a public shade tree, the only remaining public shade tree on the street. If you remember last year, we had a removal at the very end of the street to allow driveway access for the structure. So the poll petition, based upon the recommendation from the Director of Public Works, the poll petition was denied, which means the existing pole stays, the tree stays, and now the property, the developer has to work with National Grid to create a different avenue for the utility. So just in case you happen to see that, I just wanted you to be aware of that. So, and I really don't have much else, anything that we couldn't talk about in another part of the meeting. So, and with that said, I'd like to introduce you all to Stephen Nutter, who is the executive director of Green Cambridge, who has been was invited to come. You know, Ken put me in contact with Stephen. I've never met him before, so it's nice to meet you virtually. Thank you for coming. And Kent has said a lot of wonderful things about you and Green Cambridge, so we're sort of excited to hear about what you've been up to, how does your program work, what works, what doesn't work, what are you still trying that you're hoping is going to work. So, um, so please, do you need a screen share?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
I
hold
have
on
a,
one
I have
second.
it's several slides, but I'll go
Okay.
through quickly. They're
Okay.
really just for graphics and fun. Not a lot of bullet points, not too many bullet points to read at
Okay.
least.
All right.
Well, nice to meet you, Richard, and everyone else out there in Northampton. A couple of the folks from Green Cambridge here have joined us just
Thank
because
you.
we like to do everything together, a lot of things together. So we're all in the same place, and just special thanks to Kent because not only is we've exported him out to Western Mass, but he was really instrumental in helping us with the foundation of Canopy Crew with his GIS skills. He really gave us the data that we needed to be able to start up a multi-year program and get fundraising. So thanks, Kent.
You're welcome.
I can just start with the presentation and then we can talk as long as you have space for. Is that good?
Yeah.
Great. Could I just get a sense of who's in the room here of
Sure.
why you're here and where you're at?
Sure. On my screen, Rich Parrish, you can go first because you're in the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah. Yeah. Rich Parrish, a year or two on this commission, but a decade of working along with the tree warden in planting and pruning trees in the city's right of way. So,
David Lukens.
Hi. I've been on the committee for several years, and Kent and I have gone door to door hanging things, encouraging people to do volunteer for setback trees.
Hmm.
And he's talked with admiration about Green Cambridge. So I'm curious to hear what you're up to.
Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly Hale. Let's see. I've done several different surveys for planting sites, like walking around and noting where there's places that trees could go. And also I've done surveys for ailanthus trees in preparation for getting spotted lanternfly, although I'm not sure that information is really going to be that useful. But anyway, I did that, and I've helped out with some analysis of tree growth and how much we should get reimbursed for when a tree has to be replaced.
Sue.
Um, I'm I guess I've been involved about 10 years. I work closely with the person who's kind of leading our planting efforts at this time, Jen, who's unfortunately not here. But I help update our data and just do a lot of planting and help organizing and work with the community groups and the volunteer Saturday organizer, and got involved because one of the people who was doing a lot said they needed more organizational support on the volunteer side. He was feeling like he was a sort of bottleneck, so he roped me in to get involved and help from the organizing side.
And I'm Rich. I'm the city's tree warden. I'm also the ex officio chair of the Urban Forestry Commission. I've worked for the Public Works Department for the majority of my adult life, so that's about 36 years. Uh, and I have been the tree warden since 2014, and I've been working with the commission since the commission was formed in 2015. And I can just say that I have been very fortunate to work with a great group of people on this screen and many others that are not here that have made our tree program, our tree initiative extremely successful and sustainable.
Mm.
We've been very fortunate. Plus, we also have a tremendous amount of support from our elected officials,
Mm.
the Director of Public Works, and other members of the community. So it's been a pleasure and an honor working here and working with all the folks on the screen here, and also, just meeting other folks like yourself, and we great to be together to share different thoughts and ideas, and how people are doing things, and sort of instead of reinventing the wheel, sort of asking a lot of questions.
Mm.
I also do want to tell you that Northampton at times has been uh, it's been told to me that Northampton is the Cambridge of the West. So
Excellent.
I'm so thank you for sending Kent our way. So now that's like the cherry on top of the ice cream, or on top of the whipped cream. So Kent, you have a lot, you've got a lot to do here, Kent, apparently. So I just wanted to put a little more pressure on you. That's all.
It's a shuttle back and forth between the two.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and when we're done with him, we'll give him back. So yes, it's all,
Yeah.
yeah. But thank you.
I think I know, I just within my friend circle, I know 4 or 5 either couples or individuals who have moved to Northampton from Cambridge or Somerville. So yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, Andrew Putnam lives here as well.
He
Uh,
lives, I didn't know he lived there.
he has a home here
Okay.
on Coles Meadow Road, not too far from my home, and
Oh,
so I see him occasionally, and
yeah.
I'm also very good friends with Dave Lefcourt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have a good crew. Uh,
Yes, you do.
we're,
Yes, you
we
do.
are, we are blessed with a good DPW, incredible forestry staff at DPW. Um, and then I'll let my 2 colleagues here introduce themselves, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah. I'm the deputy director. I've been here for about 2 years now. I just turned 2 about 10 days ago. And super excited to hear you guys have going on. And I love that, both Andrew and David, because they are very important to us at Green Cambridge. So, and I'll pass it to Anisha.
Hi everyone, I'm Anisha. I am the youth programs manager at Green Cambridge. I was just hired on full time at the beginning of September, but I did lead previous youth programs last summer, and I'm going to be leading Canopy Crew and Restore Corps, which Stephen will talk about in his presentation. So I manage all the things youth facing for our programs.
Yeah. And could I ask, and I should have looked this up, but within Northampton, what's your lowest canopy cover area, like percentage wise? Do you know?
Mm, not
Uh,
offhand, but downtown
yeah,
is
down,
pretty low, I
yeah,
think.
downtown would be like in the high 20s, maybe.
I
High,
can
high
Oh,
20s.
I can show
I
you a
think the
map if
worst
you
is
give me a minute.
the census block on King Street. It happens to include um the JFK or not JF, one of the schools there,
Bridge Street School.
Jackson Street School.
Jackson, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Okay.
That's our lowest area, like as far as census blocks go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Railroads, highways,
Yeah, railroads, highways, sort of a,
historical industrial uses,
yep.
The Walmart,
next
etc.
to the river,
Yep.
warehouses, all those sorts of things. Yeah.
We're,
Uh,
I mean, I think we're blessed because we have about 48% overall canopy within the city
wow.
boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So but we also have we have a lot of rural, like wards 6 and 7, which are towards West Hampton and going
Mm-hmm.
towards the Berkshires. It's still it's suburban, but it's more rural suburban.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, great. That's yeah, we so just as a preface here, and I hope my
We've added.
is that my internet or Richard's?
Both.
I'm gonna
Or
turn off
mine.
my video. I'm gonna turn off my video just to.
Just to save it a bit. Yeah.
Save it.
Um, yeah, that aligns really very close to ours as well. Our lowest camp area is East Cambridge, which is where historically a wetland and also a very, very, very industrial area. And it's 11.4, I think. So pretty low. Um, definitely see that like historic land use definitely maps to canopy coverage. Um, yeah, so let me just I'll start the presentation here and let's see if I can work this correctly. Shoot. All right. Great. You all can see that okay?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So again, I'm Stephen Nutter, Executive Director of Green Cambridge. I have been doing this work for a while, 8 years at Green Cambridge, but I was also that kid in high school who started the tree planting club, which still exists apparently. So that's a good thing. Um, so we're Green Cambridge. Our mission is for a more sustainable city and protect the environment for the health and safety of all. Pretty broad mission there. We started in 2004, so we just turned 20. We had a big 20th anniversary party. We really started as an advocacy organization that was community members coming together. We worked a lot on open space. We had a working board at the time. Our working board got the net zero action plan in place for Cambridge, which is now being adopted by many places, including the state of Rhode Island is now doing their own net zero action plan. The urban forest master plan, which we advocated for by doing a community, Kent may have been involved in this, but it was a community science where we basically calculated canopy cover across the city and between 2 different years, and then showed a pretty significant decline. That was then the University of Vermont did their LiDAR, and they aligned together. So that it's one of our impetus for having the urban forest master plan, and also the Cambridge Food Plan, which talks about grocery stores, but also urban ag. And about 6 years ago or so, we really, right after I was hired basically to take the organization from a volunteer community group with a working board into a funded staff nonprofit with multi-year programs. And so we narrowed our focus and went deep on youth programs, specific, like long-term youth programs towards what I guess we would call now green jobs, but with a real focus on nature-based roles. So from all of that, we have two paid youth programs. Each of them run about 8 months long. They run with the school year for the most part. And with one of them is called Canopy Crew, and the other one's called Restore Core. Restore Core is very place-based, and it's about a large DCR property that we act as the friends of. That's where we acquired a friends of group, the Friends of the Alewife, and now we've turned that into a classroom as a way for us to store that space. And then Canopy Crew came out of our Urban Forest Master Plan, and I'll talk a lot more about that. But within Canopy Crew, our goals are to increase canopy, to provide youth employment, to share career pathways to nature-based jobs, and to build social cohesion across neighborhoods, because you got to talk to each other, and that's a good thing. So we're trying to move this conversation in the environmental and climate world from how I relate to the environment as an object out there that I need to do my part for, which is a good thing, but how we relate to each other within the environment, because it's really about these shared resources that we have. We live in a shared world. So we like to say that Cambridge is a farm and a forest and a wetland. We just happen to put buildings in it, which ecologically, that's kind of what it is. And this is a recreation of a map from 1635. I think you'll find this many places around Cambridge, but it does show that all the hatched areas is where the swamps were. So literally about a third. So I took this and I dropped it onto a Google aerial map just to show like where there used to be water, and it's pretty extensive. So that in the upper right hand corner, that's East Cambridge. So and then we did a climate resilient. I think it's called a Resilient Cambridge, and it showed that prior to 2000, we had about 10 days where it was over 90 degrees here in Cambridge. Classic New England summer weather. We're definitely finding now, and I think you can all attest to this past summer, we've had many days over 90 degrees, and even a couple days over 100. And this was our municipal this is right. This is our municipal vulnerability report. And so after 2055, we're going to see a couple months over 90 degrees and probably up to a month over 100 degrees. So really significant changes from New England climates. This puts us way more down, South Carolina kind of climate. And then this mapping here is from the Museum of Science. They put temperature sensors on bicycles and cars all in one day, and they collected this data all across the whole metro area just to show where the hot spots are and the slightly cooler spots. You can see the slightly cooler spots are Fresh Pond on the left-hand side. That's a big wooded area. We had some cooler spots around MIT. That could be because of the breeze. It could be low data. It could be because there are a lot of big old trees there because it's a big institutional space with a lot of acres. And then the dark red is really mostly the more paved areas. And then Kent did this map for us. So I said, show me where all the permeable space is. Like, let's just highlight that. So this is all the spaces that are not paved. Doesn't have a building on it. It's actual soil. And because one of the things we hear a lot about is there's no place for trees. And so I made this map to show, well, there's 1,500 acres of space for trees, actually, because we have about 4,000 acres in Cambridge. Some of that includes the river, so we can't plant the river, but just to show the point that there is actually lots and lots and lots of space for trees. We had our first urban forest master plan that came out in 2019. This was the assessment that came out in 2024. I think this is like the most updated one. We're 5 years into the Urban Forest Master Plan, so we're about to get a new one. But on the lower right hand side there, you can see the different types of canopy coverage that we have. So Cambridge Highlands and sort of the mid-green area is sort of similar canopy to what I heard there from Northampton. And there's a bunch of different pieces in this assessment and also in the Urban Forest Master Plan. But the biggest one is this community education is crucial because most of the canopy is on private property. Since 2009, Cambridge has lost 86 soccer fields of tree canopy. We converted to soccer fields because nobody knows what an acre is anymore. Because we don't farm anymore. So, but 86 soccer fields. And 80% of the canopy is on private property. And that's really the main driver here for Canopy Crew is that the city, Andrew, can only plant on streets and parks. And that's only about 20% of the canopy. So, and environmental justice, of course, not of course, because it shouldn't be a given, but it's consistent where you find it in almost all urban areas have the lowest canopy coverage. And a lot of our work stems from some level of academic research in the sense that, one, we know that the more people who are engaged in the civic discourse and feel that they have agency over place, the better that they're just going to be more civically engaged. If you feel that you have agency over your place, you're going to be more engaged. And the other part of that is just the health benefits that come from having trees and urban forest around, which is this 330, 300 metric, and it came out of Europe. And that's so it's the 300 is 300 meters, which is about 1,000 feet. So we want to have 3 trees visible from every home. Neighborhood should have around the 30% tree canopy coverage, and every resident should live no more than 1,000 feet or 300 meters from a park. And so with Kent's map there, we found 3,200 spots for trees on private property in Cambridge. And that's actually a very small portion because our goal here was to be able to knock on somebody's door and say, can we put a tree in your yard? And in order for that to happen, you need to have agency over that yard, which means you probably need to own that piece of property. And home ownership in Cambridge is around about a third. So it's around like 32, 33%. So, so this 3,200 spots is only for about a third of the properties, the private properties in Cambridge. So there's actually a lot more that's possible. And then here's the map itself, and I should have had a link to the actual map because it's pretty cool. Maybe I can bring it up later on. But basically, we took all this data, the Museum of Science data, that's what the orange and yellow is. We took the environmental justice neighborhoods and census tracts. That's what the blue-gray triangles, geometric shapes are there. And then the thicker lines are our neighborhood boundaries. And then the red lines are sort of areas where we thought we could kind of go in to like area number 7 and do a big tree planting in that area. We haven't done that yet, but it's a sorting mechanism for us. But each one of these properties, you can click on it and we connected it to the assessor's database. So I can find out what that specific address is. And if the assessor's database is correct, I can find out the name of the people who live there. And then we can make like basically walk sheets to walk around and be like, oh, we did an analysis. It looks like your backyard could take a tree. Can we plant a tree in your backyard? We've taken that spreadsheet and put it into mailers, and so we're only mailing to the specific addresses. to see if with a postcard to see if they want to receive a tree. That's been really successful in terms of outreach, rather than just trying to blanket the whole thing. But we do get a lot of people to sign up to get a tree at tabling events and word of mouth and all kinds of different things. And we're also trying to show that like healing is possible. So this came out of the changes to the land, which was a report that came out about 10 years ago from Harvard Forest. It's an excellent report. I love a good report. And so this shows each one of these different lines are the different states in New England. And about 1850, 1900, most all the states hit our bottom line. We had basically cut down everything. Most all of New England has been cut down, especially in Massachusetts. There's just a few thousand acres of old growth forest out there. But then you see that, that was also around the same time as the City Beautiful movement that came out in the early 1900s within the urban areas. We also got railroads, and so we started having more farmland in Ohio and Iowa, and that's where a lot of our grain started coming from. And so there was a lot of times that we just abandoned farms. And so I think we do find that in New England and Massachusetts, when you abandon land that you had cleared, trees just love to grow. It was like, I think it's like 20% of the carbon sequestration in the United States is from New England forests. So it's and then around 1950, 1960, that's when we started getting the interstate highway development and just a lot more car use, and we started getting a lot more suburban sprawl. And so we started to see a decline in our overall canopies across New England too. But change is possible. It was pretty massive. We almost got back up to close to, prior to the Europeans coming in. Benefits of urban trees, which you all know, and I'm happy to share this slide deck with you, but it does all kinds of stuff. My favorite on here is reduces crime. They did a study in Baltimore, and taking into account all the other pieces, it actually lowers crime just by like 10%. So Canopy Crew. So we train youth in an 8-month paid internship in science, outreach, policy, and planting. So it's tries to be holistic in its nature around everything. I've said if you think getting a free vaccine in someone's arm is hard, try giving them a free tree, because it can be really challenging. There's a lot of work that needs to happen in working with communities, doing education, understanding what's possible. And so we try to be holistic in our work. So we piloted in 2019, just with, I think that's Dave Lovecourt right there, teaching some high schoolers how to plant in one of our parks. And this was really our first time where we brought together DPW and the high school together along with Green Cambridge. And then we were able to start up the program. Last year was our most robust year. Last year was our first year that we had a full-time person managing the program. And now, this year we'll as time has gone on, we've definitely seen that like more and more people know about it. Then it definitely kind of comes into play about getting more trees in the ground, and also on the high school side too, because high schoolers, they want to do it's a job, and they want to do something that's also social too, and so they a lot of it's through word of mouth. And then the other thing is we really want to have the whole round trip of the whole process. So we're going to be having a nursery next year, maybe the year after. I'm not quite sure just yet. But we're going to have a nursery for about 300 trees of our own. So we're not shipping them in, because right now most trees in Cambridge the trees that the city plants in Cambridge come from Western New York. because there's just large, very large tree nurseries out that way where there's a lot more land and the land's more less expensive. But we at least want to be able to show like how that whole process happens. And that's actually going to be on this. And I don't know if I can, I guess I can't zoom in, but this is the parking garage, and this is the rendering that the architects and the used that they'll show our tree nursery on top of this parking garage. That came about because um, there was a person, Mike Nakagawa, who lives in North Cambridge, and I think Kent knows him as well. And he said, we have this green roof ordinance in Cambridge that you're supposed to have a green roof. What if it was a tree nursery? And so the city gave them the permit gave this developer, the permit for that. So we successfully proved that a nursery could be a green roof, so it can be less passive and more integral to our community health and just in general. And just our pipeline here is, we need to have tree nurseries. So at a statewide level, we need to have tree nurseries, more tree nurseries, so that we can supply more trees. Having community-based programs just in general, so it doesn't feel like it's a services, the city needs to go and do this or the city needs to go and do that. Like that these trees are really part of our community as well. And really getting in to show with the youth that there's all kinds of different jobs to make this happen, everything from a GS analyst to a facility operations person to municipal policy to an actual arborist, of course. And really build up that employment pipeline. So the Urban Forest Master Plan in Cambridge said that we should plant about 2,000 trees a year for the next 50 years. So that's a lot of trees, and that means there needs to be a lot of hands and a lot of trees in the pipeline for that. So what if you spread that across all 351 municipalities in Massachusetts? I definitely would love to do that analysis. And then just increase plantings on private property, just in general. That's most places are in urban areas. That's how we're going to get there. So here's just a couple shots of our one of our holding nurseries. These are trees that we ordered on the left-hand side that we ordered from Western New York, and this is the city's holding area for their trees, so we could big shipments in, hold them there, and then use these to plant. And they gave us the space. I think that's 125 trees in there. That was last fall, and then this spring we got a donation of 100 of these little whips from the Arbor Foundation, and so then we bought these 2-gallon fabric buckets to put them in and put them there too. So we got about 100 of those. So that was fun, and we'll see how many of them actually survive, but we'll get those into the ground as well in the coming planting seasons. And then just lastly, our program runs October through April. It's 52 hours of training across all different types of disciplines. 42 hours of direct outreach where we ask them to go door to door and do tabling and connect with their other community members. And there's a lot of training that goes into that of how that happens. And then 90 hours of planting. And so when they leave here, this is about 184 hours of training and actual experience that they'll have. We're not there yet, but we definitely are trying to ensure that this training has at least components of the certified arborist curriculum and program, just so that it's at least using similar language and similar follow through, so that if someone who comes out of this does want to go into that area, at least that they'll do better on the tests and also sort of know what they're talking about if they do work for an arborist company. We have our program is for 16 to 18-year-olds. And I think last year we did have a repeat person. This year we have 2 people coming in who were in the program before. So 2 years of this is a lot. You could definitely at least be an apprentice, somewhere. So that's the story of Canopy Crew, and thanks for your time talking about that.
Thank you. That is absolutely amazing. I'm sort of speechless. You've really have come so far, but very quickly, I think. Obviously, with a lot of support locally. Could you tell us? My one question I'll have, and then I'll let their. I just was curious. What other support do you have for your program other than at the municipal level? Do you have other nonprofits that support your work? Do you have other corporate sponsors?
In
What's your,
terms of funding,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yes.
in terms of funding, we get for the first couple years we were working off ARPA funds. That was really a big gave us the ability to really to create this. Was some of the seed funding, and I think we just ran out of ARPA funding in like April, something like that. And we get support from DPW. Last year was the first year that we became um, our work became part of the DPW budget. So it's not necessarily like a line item, but it's we're included in there. So and it's increased this year over last year. Um, and then we also do a ton of grants. I think we've applied to 50 grants this year so far, something like that. And um, because we're so focused on workforce development, we're able to apply to a lot of workforce development grants. So there's a lot of foundations that that push for that. So we're not just talking about tree planting, which I'm sure there's several we apply to those grants too, but we're actively working with workforce development organizations and even the workforce development office here in Cambridge, so that we're in alignment with that, so that we can qualify for for various grants in that realm too. And then just a ton of donations and you know banks and any place that we can get funding. Yeah.
Yeah, we also had a contract with the Cambridge Redevelopment Authority.
Oh yeah.
There was a big construction project that took place in Kendall Square, which is also super low with canopy. And there was a bid put out to help with mitigation. There was 122 trees removed, I believe. And so we won the bid and were able to get funding to basically help, replenish the trees that were torn down.
Yeah. We showed them a map that said within a 15-minute walking area from where the trees were being taken out of, that we had already identified like 250 potential places for trees. So we just planted within that neighborhood. Yeah. Susan.
How do you manage working on private property? Well, a lot of things like liability, watering, pruning, training, young tree training.
Yeah. So we have a packet that we give the folks who live there about how to care for a tree. Um, and we do the like a second year check-in to see how it's going. But honestly, people love getting trees, and so they call us. They're like, my tree's turning yellow, or my tree didn't do well, or whatever it may be. And so sometimes we don't even, that's before we even have a scheduled time to go back and check in on them. Um, and then in terms of pruning and that sort of thing, we're really just installing the tree. So we have a couple arborists that we really like. Barrett Tree East is one of them. And we, in as the years go on, we just say, well, we're not arborists, and but you should probably have an arborist come out and check it out if you want to know. In terms of liability and everything, we carry our own, workers' comp and all the, company, general liability insurance and all those sorts of things. So kind of like any other, contractor.
Yeah, we also have a property consent form. So when property owner receives a tree, they sign off on it. We leave a care packet, and they kind of take it from there. We do dig safe when it's applicable. And yeah.
Oh, and the other thing is the reason why we do 16 to 18 is because the camper crew folks get onto our payroll system, and so they have to go through that whole. So that's part of the professional development of like, what does payroll mean? What do I have a checking account? Like that sort of thing. And then which also helps them cover under workers' comp. Um, and so it's just kind of part of the whole package.
Yeah, they need a work permit.
Yeah.
How many people are on the canopy crew and how many trees do you plant in a year?
Last year we had 15 at the beginning. This is part of the workforce development. We had 15 at the beginning. I think we ended up with 11 at the end of
Yeah.
the season.
We ended up with 11, and then over the course of that 8 months, we planted 90 trees on 56 properties.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's each season. So we plant basically from mid to late October through the first week of December. So that's about five weekends in there, 5 or 6 weekends in there. And then mid-March this year was pretty good, and from a planting perspective it was warmer and nicer, and so we were able to plant. I think we planted around St. Patrick's Day. But I think like the next week or two it snowed, so that happens. But and then when we first started, we were planting until like the third or fourth week of May, and one year it was like 100 degrees, and so we stop after the first week of May. So the fall and the spring each get about 5 or 6 planting days in there. Because we also take off for the school vacation weeks, and we have a snow week, or 1 week we didn't have the deliveries we thought we were going to have, and so
Are you planting urban trees on sidewalks and right of ways, or just the private property?
Just the private property. So we have an agreement with DPW. They used to have the back of the sidewalk program, which you all may have, but that basically allowed the city to plant on private property within 20 feet of the right of way. And that just kind of proved too much for them from for like it was just more productive for them to say, if it's private property, go to Green Cambridge. If it's public property, we'll send our contractors and that sort of thing. So it kind of gives us the ability to really do that kind of customer service side of things, because we definitely working on private property with different individuals is a lot, and that's part of the professional development side of it too. And also it's a learning opportunity for us too. Like we're not, it wasn't like I was selling refrigerators or things door to door before. So so it's a whole learning process. Like everybody is everybody, and so we all have to work together and figure out. Some people are like, they sign up and then the next day they sign up for a tree on our form, and like 2 or 3 days later they'll call us and be like, when's the tree coming? And we're like, well, you get scheduled, don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah. What tree species are you planting in there?
Yeah, so the urban forest master plan took the changing climate into account, and they have a recommended tree list. They're not all natives. They're actually, some of them are more of that mid-Atlantic native tree. But we also, have natives too. And so every season we have a list of trees that folks can choose from. And I think, Sarah, what do we have on tap?
Yeah, so right now we have lindens, redbuds, ginkgos, tupelos. Sorry, I'm trying to look at two screens at the same time.
I can send our tree selection webpage in the chat as well if you want to.
Yeah.
We just have everything on our website. So
Yeah. Elms, we have red maples. My computer is crawling. Birches, tulip trees. This year we have a couple ornamental trees like lilacs and cherry blossoms. We have a hawthorn. We have golden rain, which was offered from DPW, but we're not sure we actually want to roll those out. We have some swamp white oaks, some service berries. We've done catalpas in the past. We're going to offer a dogwood that is again being offered by DPW, but we're going to buy a native variety. And so we try to, prioritize canopy, but also just support biodiversity across the city, as well as pollinators and, our birds and our bees. And so there's multiple goals built in.
Yeah.
So, we try to have like our top 15, top 20 that are fit for our climate, but also take into consideration climate change. Because these trees hopefully will still be there in 50 years, 70 years.
And we definitely have some very urban areas that have like 3 feet of a front yard, and that's the only space and so that's where we put some of the smaller ornamentals. So at least they get a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did you get this program started at the beginning? Like you couldn't have just suddenly got all this money and we're going to do all this stuff all at once. How did you begin?
Yeah. I think some of the earliest pieces came from a teacher at the high school who's been there for 30 years, and she's just constantly trying to get students' hands in the soil. That's like her whole thing. And so when the Urban Forest Master Plan came out, I think we were just having a conversation about that and about like, oh wow, there needs to be 2,000 trees planted, and most of them on private property, and it just gave us an opportunity. And then and around that same time, and maybe even a little bit before that, there was a person, David Meshulam, who is now the executive director of Speak for the Trees, which is a Boston organization very similar to us. And he was uh, at least he's a science teacher in Watertown, and he was just kind of he wanted to transition his career away from teaching and really got into trees, and so he helped form some of the basis of the program itself.
Mhm.
And then we had a volunteer master's student at Harvard Extension School who volunteered with us for about, I think, like 8 months. And he was the person who interacted with Kent initially about developing our data sets. And then Andrew was hired, and talked to him about it, and he was cool, figure out where we go. And then kind of and then in 21, the ARPA funds came through. So we had been basically preparing for like three years. And then the funding, that initial kind of seed funding came through, and we were able to take off. And that kind of gave us enough. And then a couple more rounds of grants came through, and able to, because it was just me, I was the only employee. And then as more and more funding came in, we were able to hire and more people. And so then Sarah was hired as a deputy, a second full-time person, just gave us more capacity. And then another round of funding came through, and then we were able to create another full-time position for the program manager itself. So
Yeah, and we got our trees from DPW all the way through last year. And then in one of the grants, actually across two of the grants, we had two line items to buy trees. So we were able to buy our first 125 last fall, so fall of 24. So
Yeah.
before that, all the trees were supplied through DPW, which was, it really enabled us to do the work.
Yeah.
That's interesting because, you know, city money is going to plant trees on private property. And that's something that we've run into here. Like, I think we can't really do that because people wouldn't want to pay taxes to plant trees on people's backyards.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tough conversation, but I think it's because it was so we do also have a tree fund. So through our tree ordinance, you have to pay into the tree fund when you take down a tree. And that those funds were also, I think that's where the city was like arguing, not arguing, but making the case that
Mm.
that that funding could go. We never got a check, from the city. We just got extra trees
Mhm.
that they had. And then that was really the first couple years. And it was a pretty small amount of trees. And then our grants came through and we were able to make a large purchase and just have that kind of be there. We've had a lot of discussions in the city of Cambridge about the anti-aid amendments and things about, how much city money can go directly to nonprofits and things. And I think that our most recent reading of the law is that it's fine to go to nonprofits. It's really about like the city not, pouring you a new driveway. So, but we see trees as a shared infrastructure, just like a street or a sidewalk, whether it's in a backyard or not, because it's still part of our canopy.
Mhm.
So it's definitely something that taxes should pay for because we all
Mm.
benefit from it.
Yeah, and when we got a full-time program manager, that's when the tree planting themselves are really able to ramp up. So over the last year and a half, we got about, 140 out of our 200 total in the ground. So the DPW trees were a fraction of them, but it was how we started off.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're getting all our trees through the DPW, and over a quarter are setbacks on private property. So we have a volunteer crew that um, arranges meetings and then has multiple visits, picking out the tree, getting the paperwork, getting the photos, marking for dig safe, staking, putting the dig safe groups together. And I think our biggest struggle is the people who get involved want to move around and do stuff. They don't want to have any meetings or, um, do that, really take responsibility for, writing a grant or administering a grant. It's like the last thing that people who get involved want to do. So I think that's, not sure how we're gonna
Right.
get past that, but we plant quite a few trees.
Yeah. How many have you planted this like past year, for example?
It was about 70 in the spring, but that was a little on the low. What do you think, Rich? Do you want to speak, Rich, tree warden Rich? Do you want to speak to
So
that?
we've planted 2,500 trees in the last 10 years and some years it's ranged from 450 to 300 to 200. In the last probably 2 years, well, probably since the 2021, we sort of have tailed off. We've slowed down, so we've plateaued, and we're actually doing a lot of maintenance of the existing trees that we've planted that are now 10 years old. And we also had some changes in the Tree Northampton, the
Mm.
volunteer organization. So we had to sort of take a step back collectively as a group just to sort of wait to get a little to be reorganized. And another thing too, to be truthful, is we sort of ran out of premium planting spaces.
Mm.
Um, so now instead of planting in the large blocks where there was a lot of soil volume or tree belt area, we're now selectively one location in this part of the city, one location. So it's all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way that we support the planting aspect is that, Mike, I have a two-person crew that basically ferries all the trees around, drops everything off for the volunteers on Tuesday afternoons and Friday afternoons, and the volunteers plant Wednesday and Thursday.
Mm.
But because of operational constraints, We can only manage to move a certain amount of trees at a time because we have a holding pen or a holding nursery, above ground nursery. So, there's like capacity issues on both sides. But I also think it's been good for us to sort of step back and, assess the trees that we have planted. The other thing that we do every winter, and Rich Parrish has been the pruning leader, but we have a young tree training operation that is done by volunteers that has cyclical trainings, young tree trainings of all the trees we planted since 2000, well, probably since 2012, really, but 2015, let's say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's been, it ebbs and flows as we have people sort of move in and um, out of Tree Northampton, and volunteers sort of move on, and we get new volunteers and training levels, training requirements. But
And
Yeah.
I get my perception is also drought. Like we've really ramped up, and then we had tremendous amount of trees that needed watering, and we had phenomenal survival rates. We hit some droughts, and it was was a little scary. We were a little worried about taking care of the trees we'd planted at such a high rate of planting, as Rich said, 450 a year or something for a tiny town like ours. And so the care, and luckily we had a volunteer who stepped up and really organizes the training of them. But so I was wondering how you care for trees on the private property.
Yeah. So the trees that you've planted are both private and public property, street trees and
Just the
park
setback within the 20 feet
within the
on
20
private
feet.
property. We're not doing informally. We have a tiny little nursery and we'll figure out a tree for somebody here and there, but mostly we're working with the city and getting the trees through the city.
Yeah. 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 We have we drop off trees on Friday afternoons, and then and then the canopy crew plants on basically all day Saturday.
Stephen, I have a question about the youth internships. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you have good reasons to use high school students.
hmm
I wondered, would the model work as well with college students, do you think?
I think so. I think the first year, the first season, we had a couple of like college students who were just, nearby.
Mhm.
Part of our goal is the youth employment part of it, and being able to provide, you know, pathways to these jobs that a lot of people just don't know about. Like a lot of people, you don't, if it's not part of your like family or your community circle, like you may not even know what an arborist does or why they're even there or anything like that. So, and a lot of those jobs in urban forest, specifically in urban forestry and urban ecological restoration, they're so multidisciplinary. It just and you don't really get like more exposure to all different aspects that, if you're coming in with a bunch of different skills, like they're useful, whether or not they're if you know anything about trees or not, if you have a science degree or not, because it takes definitely like a team. Um, and some of the impetus of that came definitely from ARPA, which had workforce development and uh, just economic justice, aspects to some of the funding, as well as stormwater too, because we could say, well, trees help with stormwater, and so that was definitely another piece there too. Um, and we decided to pay the equivalent of the Cambridge living wage, not because we had to, but because it just felt if we felt like it was the right thing to do. And the marginal cost difference for us was very small. So why not just go for it? Which is it's like 1970 an hour. So it's pretty substantial, honestly, especially if you're 17 and you live at home.
Who was doing the mentoring? You meant the slide with the DPW people.
Yeah, that was um, Dave Lefkart, I think, was there.
And he's
We-
DPW?
DPW, yeah. And so we also bring in all kinds of different folks as part of the training sessions, in terms of just giving presentations of like, this was, I'm a ecological restoration specialist and this was my path. I didn't graduate high school and then I went and got this, apprenticeship, or I was a history major and just really wanted to do things with my hands, or like, whatever that path may be. Because especially now, uh, everyone's so geared towards going to college, and like there's such a pressure cooker about like, I have to get into this thing and I have to do this other thing. And the next 15 years of your life is planned out. And if you stray from that path, then you're gonna, live in a van down by the river, and you don't want that sort of, just overburdening of folks to know that there's multiple ways to get to these different goals.
And
So
there's also like a new wave of ways to look at environmental and green jobs, especially with this new push for electrification. So not that those jobs aren't also important, but the nature-based and like hand-based ones are not as glorified, but they're just as important. So we feel like, getting that introduced to youth as soon as we can so that they can, be inspired by that and then take that and maybe still apply that to, solar panel creation, and where do you put the EV chargers and how close to the trees until that actually starts to disrupt them. You can go into policy, but now you'll have the holistic understanding of how all these things come together. So that's why we, really want to get to the 16 to 18-year-olds. And there's also a lot of workforce development programs for 18 to 32, but not as many for high schoolers, especially in urban settings around nature.
a lot of the workforce development is like, if you graduate from high school, or maybe didn't graduate from high school, and then you've sort of gotten off track, or you ran into some trouble as you're trying to, whatever it may be. And we kind of want to get to folks before that even happens. So
Yeah, I'd have to say, being in public works for 36 years, I never anticipated that I would be in public works. That was not my career path originally. But being a manager here for a long period of time, it's been very difficult to actually find young people that are actually really willing to sort of get their hands into the soil, I think, to speak. And it's really great that you're actually mentoring and working with early high school students, early age high school students, to try to create that environment for them. And I'm not sure, like, you look at my face, right? I've been around the block a little bit, so I'm a little older, but I still think I'm a kid. And I sort of act like a kid at times, but I really, like, I'm not getting any younger, so I'm really trying to figure out how to get more young people like energized about tree planting and getting engaged in the green industry, all, not just arboriculture, but urban ecology and other green infrastructure disciplines that are really sort of like, we're all sort of wedded together in essence. And I
yeah,
think we have to remember that, and I think people forget that, and we still operate in a lot of different silos. Even in the industry of like just folks that are growing trees versus the folks selecting trees versus the folks planting trees. But I think it's great. Have you done any work or had any interaction with the Boston Power Corps at all?
yeah, we just talked to them today. Actually, we just had an hour-long conversation with them, and that was really great. And definitely
Okay,
found a lot of
good.
synergies between the two. I mean, I think it kind of, to your point, it kind of does play across all those hands-on industries. Like, the average age of farmers in Massachusetts is like in the 60s. The average age of electricians is in the 60s. And with the way forward, we know is skills-based economy, right? It disconnects you from large corporations. It connects you back to the community. We're in the process of beginning a more intensive work, but definitely a lot of conversations so far with a researcher at Mass General Hospital who studies teen anxiety and climate change.
Mm.
And the research definitely shows that when you put your hands in the soil together with other people, your anxiety goes down and you feel like you have more agency over your space, which then lowers your anxiety even further. And so it all definitely plays together.
Mm. I'm just thinking about, it seems like an industry that has similar people with maybe similar interests going in at an entry level is landscaping.
Hmm.
And it's not, I mean, maybe I have the wrong perception, but I think it's not a very skilled trade. You just have to know how to do a lawnmower and make volcano mulch around a tree. I'm just kidding, but I wonder if like those kind of people that are going into landscaping might be, some of them might be potentially interested in doing a program like this, to develop some actual more skills and involved with, tree care instead of just putting the trees in the ground and mowing grass.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely, think so. That would be good to get, folks in that into a larger thing. I mean, that was, just personally, that was my little gateway. I'm not a scientist in any, ecologist in any way. I just happened to grow up in the woods with a father who was a contractor, and I had chores to do from age 5, and we we built a house, and I think I was 14, 15, and he said, landscape the whole yard. And I said, okay. So I drew it, and then he said, oh, well, you've drawn it. So, here's the truck. Here's go buy the stuff and put it in the ground. So, I wasn't doing anything like ecologically. I didn't choose native plants or anything like that. I had no idea what I'm doing. Uh, but it was pretty incredible to see it at the end. And
Mm.
I've gone on Google Maps and everything is still there. And I was like, that's a terrible design. But it lasts. That's the thing, is you put something in the ground and it tends to stay there. So
Yeah, and this year in particular, we were trying to connect more with different departments. So, like the water department, on top of DPW's forestry department, just DPW in general, to help show that also, like, city jobs are fantastic jobs. Like, there are so many benefits, and especially in a place like Cambridge, where I mean, cost of living is extremely high, but multi-generational families exist here. So getting, youth into these city jobs is a way to keep, generations staying here. And again, like they're just great jobs. And I think that there's this idea that if you don't go to college, that you're not doing well, and that's just not the reality. So we're trying to help make people really understand that, and to keep Cambridge in Cambridge, and to give them the skills that they need, and set them up for unions and benefits, and you know doing the best that we can to aid in Cambridge continuing to be able to be a home for Canterburyans that have been here a long time, and aren't being pushed out by, I mean, rising cost of living, but also just transient folks and all these new condos that are changing the way that Cambridge looks. Because working for DPW for 30 years is an amazing thing. There's so much value in that. There's so much value in knowing your local man, and you
Yeah.
know, being a part of a 10-year compost project that diverts 30% of, waste from trash. Like that's these long-term initiatives, and being able to stick them through are huge. So trying to push that as well.
Th- Thank you. That makes me feel much better after being
Yeah.
36 years, but it's been interesting. That was not the plan, but I mean, again, we're struggling as well to retain DPW staff for a tenured amount of time, and it seems like young people don't necessarily, because of the way the public jobs are structured and their hourly rates versus the benefit package. I think a lot of young folks are interested in working privately, potentially versus in a public works setting. But it is a great place to work. I have no complaints.
Yeah,
And
there's a different kind of
I've been fortunate
longevity
enough to be
there.
around.
Yeah.
There is, and I've been fortunate that I have worked for a lot of great people, and they've been very supportive of me for many years, and I owe a debt of gratitude to them for the position that I'm in now, which is great because I'm, shepherding this tree initiative with the commissioners here and other members of the public. So it's a great
We've been
experience.
really lucky because Rich has all this experience. He knows so many people, and he and his boss have been able to keep what funding we have in place. And he just knows the city really, really well. And he's willing to work with volunteers. I mean, granted, we've developed a structure, so I think it's working pretty well. He's not, we don't have people running all in all different directions. We're pretty disciplined. But we are fortunate talking to some other communities. The DPW isn't in a position to open themselves to the volunteers. So we're very, very lucky that way.
St Stephen, I was today the day you had a hard cutoff at 5:30, and I'm sorry if we went past that.
I don't, I hope not.
Okay, because I
No,
maybe it was the previous meeting. We're
I
sort
think
of
that was the
okay.
previous meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
so
Okay.
I don't want to delay your own meeting there though. I
No,
know
it's
it's a
okay.
lot.
This is great. I actually think this is almost like a working meeting in essence. I mean, I feel it's great to hear about your program and the experiences, and I'm glad that the commissioners, and I hope if you have other questions, please, take the opportunity while Stephen and his staff or his crew is here, to ask other questions if you have them. Um,
And you're always welcome to email me,
if not, Bonnie,
Stephen Green Cambridge. Um,
okay,
if you want to reach
okay,
Anesha, it's Anesha Green, Sarah at Green Cambridge. That's just
okay. Yeah, I'm often I think a lot about sustainability here, and in my role, public works is not sometimes always the most sustainable when people transition or they retire. So it's encouraging for me to hear that you are working with young people and trying to get them actually into this industry.
mhm.
Uh, and I think I would like to have a further conversation with you about that because I definitely feel that we could try to be more sustainable. I'm also on the Energy and Sustainability Commission,
Mhm.
and we have a pollinator
Rich, you're breaking up pretty badly.
committee that has worked with high schools since last year.
Oops,
Yeah.
we can't
Oh,
hear you.
sorry. Let me shut my. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Nope. Everybody's frozen. Okay. Anyways,
Yeah. So I
I
think, I mean,
worked with high school students this past year. Go ahead. Go ahead, Stephen.
I was going to say that, kind of the biggest one of the biggest, there's so many takeaways, but I think one of the biggest takeaways is that it's great for us to do like events and one-off service days and those sorts of things. It's a nice sort of taste, but the ability to work with people across time is kind of the big thing. It really gets them engaged. You got to see the days that it's rainy and 47 degrees and you still got to go out and get trees in the ground. The ability for them just to like take in information and think about it for a couple weeks and come back and have even more. We this year, as a kind of a capstone to our cohort last year, we did a tree a teen tree summit. And so the youth, the crew members got together in groups and they each had different projects. And some of them were really data driven and really incredible. And we got Bill Muma come and be one of the keynote speakers for that, along with an urban forester in Somerville, and along with a community member. So basically, an academic, a professional, and a community member, all kind of working in different ways to kind of show the different aspects of that. So, you know, we're really trying to form relationships between people, and also but relationships between our communities and the land itself. So, and that only happens across time.
Did you say that your emails
Sorry.
are like Sarah at Green came? What were the emails again?
Sure, it's Stephen at greencambridge.org, Anesha at greencambridge.org, and Sarah at greencambridge.org.
Okay. Thank you. I will get in touch. I'd love to see that care package or care packet.
Yeah. Yeah, we can share those links. We do everything in Canva, and Canva has a link that you can just share the design to, and then you can just make a copy of it or make a PDF of it or whatever.
Or is it, I'm looking through your website. Is it in the resources? I don't see.
I don't think it is.
No, it's the printed handout that we give to people that get a new tree.
Yeah.
But we will be posting, well, we need to update the Canopy Crew page a bit, including kind of the process of when you apply for a tree, what to expect. And so we'll be within the next 2 weeks, we'll have everything that you're looking for on the website.
Yeah. We're really, you know, that's the other sort of takeaway, is the operational side of things. Just if you're going to be a customer service facing organization, in a lot of ways, it's kind of what we have to be, then it has to work just like any other customer service website, where like all the information you need is right there, and there's no one you have to call, and it's very intuitive, and you know, all those things. So it's all part of that whole administration thing. That's why it goes way beyond just putting a tree in the ground. You know, it's
Yeah, that's for us, the people who care, you know, they just want to get out there and forget about the news.
Yeah.
And we have this cohesive group of we've developed over years. They're just awesome, and they, you know our way of doing things, which we change most years. And then we bring in these community groups for a day, and they have a wonderful time. But as Rich said, youth has been a struggle, and without, somebody who really wants to dig into administration to access all of that, as you say, the money really is in workforce development. That's what we would need to get our heads around. Who would want to get that moving?
Yeah.
But we're really grateful for your time. And
Yes.
it's so inspiring.
It's so great to talk to you all and just know that you're out there doing similar things. I mean, we're all in this together. So
Thanks, Stephen.
thank
Very
you.
interesting.
Thank you.
Thank
Again,
you so much.
a big
Thank-
thanks to Kent always is like, that bedrock piece in the foundation of your house, like that was his work for us. So
And who got me involved was another transplant from Cambridge, this guy Rob, who really got the operational stuff and the organizational stuff really moving. And he moved away just as Kent came in.
oh well,
There you go.
there you go.
Cambridge, thank you.
Oh. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Have a happy Wednesday, and have a great week and weekend, and enjoy the rest of fall here. It's going to be, next few weeks are prime for New England. So
Planting soon.
Yeah.
planting soon. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
bicycling.
All right. Thanks a
So
lot.
Thank you all. Thanks
right,
for
talk to
coming.
you all soon.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. That was great. Kent, thank you for introducing Stephen to us. That was fantastic. It's
Good.
it's
Yeah.
very refreshing to hear the type of organization that they have, the mission they're supporting, and the success they're having.
Yeah.
So it
It's
gives me
amazing.
it gives me hope that there are others coming behind folks like myself and others who are doing all this. And so I don't know. I think there's a lot to learn from their operation. So,
Yeah.
uh, so fall tree planting. I don't have much to report other than I'm working with Jen to get our order from Amherst Nursery put together, and I'm working on dig safes and trench permits. Um, I'm Jen and I talked about Jen and I met last week briefly. We talked about delaying the planting because of the
Mm.
sort of mild drought we're in. So I think we're just going to have to keep an eye on that. But tentative planting potentially would be either next Wednesday or the following Saturday, the first planting. But I think that remains to be seen given how dry. I mean, the ground is very dry, which I'm sure you all know.
I could list off a few of the streets unless we're done, if,
No, we have a couple minutes.
Yeah,
No?
I'm curious,
okay.
what are the next ones?
Okay, well, we started Hubbard, which is a big project. They didn't really have any trees. One of those side streets off Bridge Street,
Mm.
up by the roundabout. So we're gonna do more there. We have a lot of stakes out. Let's see some other streets. Bridge Road, Industrial Drive, Jackson Street replacements. We lost a bunch of trees at the school. Meadow Street, Trumbull
Oh,
Street, Pleasant Street, Park Street, Main Street, North Main, Florence, State Street, Burt's Pit, Dog Park, Woodland, Vernon, Hatfield Street, South Street, Fort Street, Bridge Road, Milton Street, Ridgeview Road, Armory Street, Ridgeview, South Street, Pomeroy, Holly, Woodbine, Park Street, Florence. That's a big one, 9 trees. Prospect Ave, North Elm. So King Street.
wow.
Oh, a lot of
Ooh,
trees all over the
Wow.
place. We have
wow.
in the works. So I'm just reading off our tracker. So we have a tracker. It's got all the trees in inventory or be on order. And then we assign addresses to those. And as they come up, or it works the other way too. Sometimes we have an address and then we put the trees need watering in there. So we can move things along. So Jen is just doing so much. She's amazing.
Is there any way I can assist in all this work? I mean, you have a crew for planting,
Yeah.
but all this overhead work that you and Jen are doing, is there any way I can help you with that
Yeah.
load?
Have you done any of let's talk offline.
Okay,
1-to-1, want to have coffee or something, and I can talk to you about some of the stuff
okay.
and yeah, it's and the other organizational stuff too. We need board development really for Tree Northampton desperately.
Mm.
With people moving away and our energy's going into the operational stuff. That's what we like to do. That's what we all like to do.
We'll
Um,
talk later.
Thank you. Uh, just a quick note. Stephen, when he asked that question about our canopy coverage, so I looked on treecanopy.us and the census block, which is downtown, King Street, Merrick Lane, Strong Avenue, Center Street, Gothic Street. As of 2023, the current canopy coverage there was 17.1%.
Oh,
That's over an 18, that's over an 18 acre parcel or um so we've had we've lost 1.9% canopy coverage there since 2018. But I am this hasn't been updated since 2023, I don't think. So, but it's an
is that
interesting.
our worst one? Our lowest?
Yes, according to Tree
Oh,
Canopy US, that's the worst. That's
oh, I
the
thought it
least.
was that King Street Walmart area.
No, what I can do is I can send you this, I'll send you this link to
Okay.
treecanopy.us. You can take a look at this. So
Mhm.
Kent, I'm not sure if you have used this or have experience
No,
with this.
I'm curious what you're looking at.
Okay, I'll send you an email after we end our meeting. So my internet connection is stable. I don't want to touch anything.
Yeah.
So does anyone have any other comments or questions not anticipated by the chair? Okay. One thing that I will tell you is our next regular meeting is going to be October. Let me just find the calendar. Is going to be October 1st. I may be traveling back from Worcester in that afternoon, so will keep you posted about the timing and whether or not I will be able to be at the meeting that day. Um, but I will be in touch within the next week about that. So, and then our next meeting after that will be on the 15th. So I'll be in touch, and then thank you. Thank you all. Again, thank you, Ken, for introducing Stephen to us and his staff. It's great to hear about their program. So if there is nothing else, no any other business, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move.
Okay.
I move to adjourn.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. There's a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Raise your hand. Any nays? And any abstentions? There are none. The motion passes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you.